tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Poppin' can is swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Poppin' can is swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Poppin' can is swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Hey, we the people, Danielle, Claudette, Tylene is here. All right, Pearlie, I see you, beloved, we the people. Okay, so let's get into it. Nee. Everybody hit that like button. Also, don't forget to double check and make sure you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. I know I keep saying this over and over, but that's because they do unsubscribe people on a regular basis. Okay, hey, Hollywood, Emperor Rex is in the building. All right, let's get into it. Nessie X, Alice is here. All right, Queen Amoni Huey, Deronda. Okay, so shout out to everyone in the chat, all my loyal Royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. So without further ado, hey, Chris B, without further ado, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I see you, Barillas Loon. All right, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget, you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And she also sells beard oil. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into it because let me tell you all something. Let me tell you all something. Trump was up all night, literally. He was up all night making these crazy posts. At one point, he posted 40 posts within an hour. Okay, I want you to think about that because that's almost a post every minute. 40 posts in an hour. This is what he was doing. This man is a deranged lunatic, in my humble opinion. Okay, but I took it upon myself to get a few of those posts just to show you. It was too many, so I'm only going to show you about 2 or 3. But he was up posting well after midnight, up until like 7 something this morning. Okay. He could still be posting for all I know. At that point, I was like, okay, I got to start getting my receipts ready for my life. This man is crazy. Okay, so the first thing that he posted, this was about 1 something in the morning. He was posting about Alex Preddy, talking trash about this man, steadily defaming this man. Now, for those of you who haven't seen that new video footage that has come out about Mr. Preddy, I'm going to show you that. But this is what Trump is talking about. And I want you to pay attention. Still just, talking trash about this man. Okay, as far as I'm concerned. So here's what he says. Agitator and perhaps insurrectionist Alex Preddy's stock has gone way down with the just released video of him screaming and spitting in the face of a very calm and under control ICE officer, and then crazily kicking in a new and very expensive government vehicle so hard and violent, in fact, that the taillight broke off into pieces. It was quite a display of abuse and anger for all to see, crazed and out of control. I mean, it sounds like he's talking about himself, if I'm just saying. The ICE officer was calm and cool. Not an easy thing to be under those circumstances. Make America great again. Now, I want you all to pay attention because here's the thing. First of all, he's lying. Okay, that's not exactly what the video showed. Okay, he did not spit in the face of an ICE officer or agent. That's what he didn't do. Okay, now it does show him kicking the tail light and it breaking. And here's the thing, so many people were saying that it was AI at first. And, I had to question because, Trump and the administration, we know that they've put out AI doctored things before. So you can never be too sure with them. And you should never trust anything they say without proof, as far as I'm concerned. But according to reports by CNN specifically, his family has confirmed that it was him. Not to say that they too couldn't possibly have been fooled by AI. I don't know. But nonetheless, they said it was him. So that's what we'll go with. But I'm going to go to the footage.
News. A newly surfaced video shows Alex Preddy getting into a physical clash with federal agents 11 days before he was fatally shot. The family has confirmed to CNN that the man that you see in this video that was released by the outlet The News Movement is, in fact, Preddy. He is seen shouting at agents before kicking at their vehicle's taillights. The agents then stop, exit their vehicle, and tackle Preddy to the ground. A struggle ensues. But a few minutes later, Preddy gets up, and a gun appears to be tucked in.
Yesterday I had posted about this video. A lot of y'all was in my comments talking about this is AI.
Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there. I recognized his familiar stillness and signature.
Now, that last clip with Elizabeth Warren, somebody posted that it's a joke because she was talking about what a calm and light and person he was and all of that. And then they showed that. So these are the things that people are now doing. But here's the thing. My thoughts have not changed on the murder because that's what it was. Okay, that's exactly what it was at the end of the day. And, a lot of these MAGA people are basically trying to use that as an excuse, to justify what happened to him. Hold on. Let me just go to a clip of what some people are saying. Hold on. And so they're just saying, okay, he was this kind of person. Same thing they do when it's a black person. And you even have some black people saying the same thing, as if this man deserved to die. See, I don't understand people's logic, their mind frame.
Out, Alex
Okay.
wasn't as pretty as y'all tried to make him seem. Just 11 days before he was fatally shot, this man was flicking off ICE agents, screaming and cursing at them. He kicked off the taillight of a federal vehicle. He did what?
Peaceful protester, my ass.
After kicking off the taillight, the ICE agents hop out the car and tackle him to the ground. However, there's so much chaos going on, they end up letting him go. He got lucky. If the damages he caused to the vehicle were at least $1,000, this man would have committed 2 felonies within 2 weeks. He was on a roll. After being simply let go after committing at least a misdemeanor, obviously his desire to interfere with federal investigations was emboldened, which is why he had so much confidence to resist the federal agents when he was fatally shot. That was a mouthful. He was armed during his altercation with ICE as well. However, he didn't put his hands on an ICE agent, and also, it wasn't ICE he was fucking with. This was CBP.
Different ballgame.
Once again, it is a felony to put your hands on a federal agent, and that's exactly what Alex Pretty did, and unfortunately, he suffered the consequences.
Should have been at work.
Have y'all been seeing the frame-by-frame breakdown of Alex Pretty's fatal interaction? They totally skip over the fact that he put his hands on law enforcement, and if they do mention it, they say, he then briefly shoves or pushes the federal agent.
Can we be for real?
Let me ask you this. Would you, specifically you, ever put your hands on law enforcement?
I would.
Keep it up, Donald Trump.
Okay, well, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't see any video of them showing Alex putting hands on any of them, but nonetheless, they shot him while he was lying on the ground. They shot him 10 times. Okay, they shot him in his back, and the man was unarmed. That's all I needed to see. So the rest of it doesn't matter to me at all whatsoever. Okay, but let's go to this next video, because here's somebody else talking about it.
Released the other angle of Mr. Alex Pretty, also known as the peaceful protester.
Yelling at officers and taunting them. Pretty's family confirmed their son was the man spitting at an ICE vehicle before smashing the taillight in the video.
That is an innocent bystander, according to the definition of Democrats. That is someone who was not violent. That was someone who, according to their definition, was a peaceful protester. So we're going to change the definition of what peaceful is now. We're going to change the definition of what someone who literally just damaged a vehicle, property, someone who just assaulted a federal law enforcement officer by spitting at them. He was somehow peaceful. When are we going to start calling things for what they are? That is not the definition of a peaceful protester. That fits the mold, the definition of an agitator. He wasn't just holding up a picket sign in the corner saying, let them go. He was breaking someone's property. He was assaulting by spitting on a federal law enforcement officer. Do I think it is justified that he lost his life? Of course not. That could have been avoided, not only by the direction of those ICE agents, but also by the decisions he made that day. They just released the other angle of...
Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, it sounds to me as though he absolutely does think that the shooting was justified, because he just made a myriad of excuses. Him talking about Alex damaging property or spitting, that was 11 days, almost 2 weeks prior. So that should have had nothing to do with the current incident in which they took his life. That's for number one. But for number two, the fact of the matter is he was unarmed. Okay, like I said, and the man was lying on the ground. He was not putting anybody in imminent threat. Okay, so this is all crazy that they think it's justified. But see, this lets me know. See, I used to think that when they would make these idiotic justifications when it was Black people, I would think that they're just trying to paint a narrative and that they know better. But these fools clearly don't know better. They really, in their minds, that makes absolute sense. In their minds, it is justification. Because you destroyed someone's property, you deserve to die. Even if you did it 2 weeks prior, it had nothing to do with what you did today. But so they killed you today, and that's what you get because of what you did 11 days ago. That's so idiotic. One has nothing to do with the other. But you know what? Here is something I bet you they didn't think about. What this proves, because if this is all true, and I heard, and I haven't substantiated this, but I heard that ICE had his name on a list because of that confrontation. So is this premeditated? Is that why they took him up out of here? Because if so, that video is bad for them. Okay? Because that could make it look like it was premeditated. All right? So, especially if they had his name on some list, it could be targeted. Okay? Please pay attention. So, what are they really thinking? They don't make him look bad. They make themselves look bad, in my opinion. And Trump really is such an idiot. He's the president, and he's saying these things about one of his own citizens who was murdered. Okay, by his own killer militia that he has loosed into the streets of the U.S. Now, with that all being said, let's get to some other things that this idiot posted, okay, in the wee hours of the morning after midnight. Says breaking, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has just released hundreds of bombshell Russian Gate documents proving that Barack Obama personally ordered CIA agents to manufacture false intelligence on President Trump and was actively working with the enemy to undermine and erode Americans' confidence in our democracy and President Trump's landslide 2016 victory. This was a coup attempted by Barack Hussein Obama and his cronies. As Jesse Waters said, whatever happens to these guys is not revenge, it's accountability. And it's time for people to pay the price. Arrest Obama now. Do y'all hear this, school? Do y'all hear this? Here's the next one. Maria Zack testified about the stolen 2020 election operation connected to Obama when he diverted $400 million from the infamous pallets of cash sent to Iran, funneling through the Dubai embassy to operatives in Italy and Merrill Lynch in Geneva, Switzerland. In return, Italian officials at Leonardo Spa used military satellites to help hack U.S. voting machines, flipping votes from Trump to Biden. Listen to this foolishness. This is a whole conspiracy theory that's already been debunked, mind you. Okay, flipping votes from Trump to Biden using CIA-developed tools like Hammer and Scorecard, along with numerous other methods of fraud and manipulation. China reportedly coordinated the whole operation, providing the tech backbone and bribes to corrupt Americans. The CIA oversaw it. The FBI covered it all up, all to install Biden as a puppet. This is the global election fraud cartel and the real threat against American democracy and the rest of the world. Do you all hear this man? These are the rantings of a deranged lunatic. Okay, please pay attention. This man is out of control. Do you all hear this? And he is so serious. He cannot keep President Barack Hussein Obama. He had to include the middle name. He can't keep that man off of his mind. He is obsessed. And then he basically is trying to say that Barack was trying to overthrow the government in 2016. Okay, he said that. Now, if that were the case, how would it make sense? Because Barack was the president in 2016, was he not? So he was trying to overthrow his own government, Trump. But here's the funny thing. Trump is actually suing his own government. That's right. He filed a lawsuit for $10 billion against the IRS. And why did he do that? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, it is because he claims that they damaged his reputation by leaking his income tax paperwork. Now, I could have sworn that it's commonplace for presidents to show their income tax paperwork. But we know that Trump never wanted to show his. And so now he's suing them. Now I'm going to tell you how this is all going to pan out. And by the way, speaking of the IRS, which made me think about the Federal Reserve, he's also chosen a new Fed chair, which I'll get into that. But, this is all interesting, and they're likely going to just go ahead and settle with Trump, okay? With our tax dollars. Please pay attention. This is our money, okay? President Donald Trump is suing the IRS and the Treasury Department for $10 billion, alleging that they failed to take necessary steps to prevent a former IRS employee from improperly disclosing his tax returns and those of his sons and his company to news outlets. Now, this is his grift. I want you all to pay attention. Trump has found yet another way to grift, okay? And he's grifting his own government. Talking about Barack trying to overthrow the government, he's grifting his own government. Now, the lawsuit filed Thursday at a federal courthouse in Miami says Trump is suing in his personal capacity, not as president, okay? The other plaintiffs include two of Trump's sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, and the Trump Organization. I find this all so nefarious. Now, they go on to say defendants have caused plaintiffs reputational and financial harm, public embarrassment, unfairly tarnished their business reputations, portrayed them in a false light, and negatively affected President Trump and the other plaintiffs' public standing, according to the complaint. Let me tell you all something. If they settle with Trump on this BS, just know, okay, that they did so voluntarily just because they wanted to, because there's no way Trump could really win this in a real court. Because at the end of the day, for defamation, I've told you all 1,000 times, you have to prove 4 elements. And the main thing that you have to prove is that the person is lying, that they lied on you. Okay? So where's the lie? And then talking about they damaged his reputation, Trump has always had a trash reputation. When was it ever good? Think about it. Think way back to the 70s. The 80s, 90s, 2000s. When have you ever heard people saying good things about Trump except rappers and rap songs back in the day? That's it. And that was just because they knew he was rich. They didn't know anything about him, what kind of person he was. But since we've all had him out here in the limelight and in the media and all of these things and hanging out with A-listers, what have we heard about him besides nefarious things? So reputational harm has not happened. Okay, he didn't have an upstanding reputation. Okay, please. And then tarnished their business reputations at that. He had a horrible business reputation. How many times has he filed bankruptcy? What about Trump University? Okay, please pay attention. This is all a whole con and a grift. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say the Treasury and IRS did not immediately respond to requests for comment Thursday night. A former IRS contractor, Charles Littlejohn, was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2024 after he pleaded guilty the year before to leaking Trump's tax records to the New York Times. So this man had to go to prison for 5 years for leaking this, something that presidents are supposed to show anyway. But anywho. So the Times published exclusive reporting in 2020 that showed Trump had paid only $750, not $750,000. $750 is what it says, unless this is a typo, in federal income tax in 2016 and 2017. Say what now? Wow, really? $750? That's it? But this man's the president. Trump at the time called the Times story totally fake news and made up. He added that the information had been illegally obtained. Well, why would he care about the information if it was all fake? Littlejohn admitted in federal court that he also stole tax records of thousands of other wealthy people in 2019 and 2020, including billionaires Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Well, that's likely why he went to prison, doing too much. The IRS issued a statement in 2024 calling Littlejohn's actions unacceptable and added that it had sent a statement to affected taxpayers. Said it bears noting that the IRS has taken aggressive action more generally to enhance data security to ensure to the fullest extent feasible that nothing like the Littlejohn incident can happen in the future. That's what the statement read. Now, Trump who will now face off in court with his own administration, told reporters last year that he was seeking a lot of money in compensation from the federal government, okay, based on past investigations into him by the Justice Department, he said. Now, the New York Times reported in October that Trump was seeking $230 million in damages from the Justice Department. Okay, asked about the figure at the time, Trump told reporters it could be. Y'all hear this? Now, Trump added in October that he would be the one to approve the payout and said, it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. He said at the time that he would give the money away to charities or to the White House while we restore the White House. The White House and the Trump organization did not immediately respond to requests for comment Thursday night on the IRS lawsuit or what Trump plans to do with the money if damages are awarded. Since he returned to office, Trump has filed numerous lawsuits, okay, often for $10 billion. He sued the BBC last year for that amount, claiming defamation over edits to a clip of his speech on January the 6th of 2021. The BBC said it would fight the suit and sought to get it dismissed this month. In July, Trump sued the Wall Street Journal and its parent company's owner, Rupert Murdoch, for $10 billion over the paper's reporting into the crude drawing Trump was alleged to have sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. A Dow Jones spokesperson defended the reporting at the time, saying the company would vigorously defend against the lawsuit. Other Trump lawsuits include suits against JP Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, for $5 billion, claiming the bank improperly closed his accounts for political reasons. He also sued the New York Times and 3 of its reporters for defamation over coverage of his 2024 campaign, seeking $15 billion. This man is something else, okay? This is all about money. Trump is just a grimy, no good grifter. Okay, and here's the thing. Let me just tell you all. You know what I was telling you guys yesterday that I heard and haven't been able to substantiate that ICE is actually recruiting from inside prisons. Now, if that's the case, that is such a contradiction and such hypocrisy, because they're going around here snatching up these immigrants and deporting them under the guise that they're trying to get rid of crime. Okay, decreased crime rates. But going to prisons to recruit for ICE, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, that's absolutely crazy. But what's also crazy is that Trump, he and Melania went to the premiere of her movie, okay, about her life. They went to that last night, I think it was, or yesterday. So I'm going to show you all a couple of clips from there. But what I thought was interesting is when they were talking to Melania, she mentioned how she was an immigrant and, how she was so glad to be a citizen. Isn't that something? While Trump's having all of these immigrants deported, detained, just brutalized, assaulted, all these nefarious things happening to them, being taken away from their families, shipped to countries they have no affiliations with. I find it all very interesting. And then his wife says, oh, yes, I was an immigrant when she's telling her story. I want you all to pay attention. Now, also, we have to get back on the topic of, will they deport citizens? If you all remember, I told you all months ago when Trump was on that hot mic, when he was talking to President Bukele of El Salvador. If you remember, Trump was talking about, and he said it as a joke, but he was so serious. He said that he would like to have the United States criminals sent over there. Remember that? And I told you all, y'all think he's joking? And what criminals do you think he would send over there? What prisoners? Black ones. Okay? And of course, immigrants, but we already know black ones probably wouldn't send the white ones over there. Okay, so please pay attention. But we're going to talk about that because he is really serious. Like I told you all he was. That's why when people are saying, oh, we don't need to worry about this is about the immigrants. I told you all we probably should be worried about it too, because we already know that they wish they could get rid of us some kind of way, but we were born here. So with that all being said, we're going to get into that. But what I thought was very interesting, like I said, was this whole thing with Melania. Trump was on the carpet. He was looking like a kid in a candy store. He looked like he was so excited in some of the clips. I didn't get but like two, only got like two of them. But at the end of the day, he was just, looking around like he was just so smug. I think he was actually proud of Melania for once. Okay. Usually we see her trying to get the hell away from him. Okay. Walking ahead of him, trying not to hold his hand, and I don't blame her. But anyway, let's go to the footage. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were at the premiere for her movie Melania. On the red carpet, President Trump was facing questions about the $75 million that Amazon spent to acquire and market her film.
Many Americans think that this is maybe Jeff Bezos trying to get in good with you, and they would call it an act of corporate corruption. The New York Times.
That was a fake news. I think it's a very important movie. I think it's really going to be very important. It shows life in the White House. It's a big deal, actually.
The expectations are that it will earn up to $5 million. Now, does that sound like a lot or a little to you? Well, let's compare it to how much money Amazon spent. $75 million. For Melania Trump's part, it's unprecedented for a sitting first lady to profit from her position. Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, among others, released their memoirs after leaving office. On the guest list tonight, the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino. Remember, he's the one who gave the first ever FIFA Peace Prize to Trump recently. Dr. Phil, former New York Mayor Eric Adams, whose corruption case was dropped under the Trump administration. Reality star Todd Chrisley. Others, including the Amazon CEO and the Apple CEO, went to a special premiere at the White House over the weekend.
I'm very proud of. I'm an immigrant. I'm coming from a different country, and it's incredible. You will see some of it in the movie. I talk about it, and I'm very proud to be an American citizen. Thank you.
What are you wearing tonight?
Dolce & Gabbana. This film. Here in this film, they will see a lot of emotion, passion, grief, sadness, celebration, love. Yeah. So that's the message from
to them. And what is something that you want people to take away from this film?
Here in this film, they will see a lot of emotion, passion, grief, sadness, celebration, love. Yeah. So that's the message from
to them. And what is something?
Did you all see the look on Trump's face in that last clip? He's just looking all around like he's just so excited and thrilled to be there. Okay, now he probably thinks that Melania has one-upped Michelle Obama after her book. Okay, that's what you ought to pay attention. He is so envious of them. But also, I forgot to tell you all, he fell asleep, okay? They were having a meeting in the Oval Office, and someone's wife was reading something or whatever, speaking, and he was clearly asleep. Okay, let's take a look.
These stories matter because they are not isolated. They reflect the reality of the over 190 million Americans. That's half our nation. These stories matter because
taking him a little old cat nap. I hear you, Trump. You know why he needs those cat naps? Because he's up all through the wee hours of the night into the early morning. Okay, posting crazy stuff. Completely unhinged and obsessed with social media. Okay, but here's the thing. Where do you all get a load of this? Now, I just found this tidbit of information right before I got on the live. Okay, that's why I changed the time from 9:15 to 9:30. Because listen, Trump having all of these illegal people just, undocumented, just snatched up and all of that. But little did we know, there's a video of 19 undocumented immigrants that worked for the Trump organization for years. Most of them worked in Mar-a-Lago, and they have a story to tell. So let's get into it, shall we? And mind you, I haven't listened to this, okay? Because like I said, I found it right before I got ready to do the live. Now, Bareilles Loon says, people are saying Don Lemon has been arrested. Oh my goodness, are you serious? Let me see. Thank you, beloved. Lord, don't tell me they arrested Don Lemon. Say it ain't so. Lord have mercy. Breaking news. They have arrested him. Thank you, beloved, for telling me that. Wow, this is all nefarious. Thank you for letting me know that, beloved, and thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so, well, with that all being said, poor Don. Okay, so do y'all want to go to Don Lemon first? Buckhurst, DC, talking about lemon head. Let's go to Don. We'll get back to Trump and those immigrants. Here's what they say. This is CBS. Journalist Don Lemon was arrested Thursday night. His attorney and multiple sources with direct knowledge told CBS News on Friday. The arrest comes nearly 2 weeks after Lemon was at an anti-immigrant protest that disrupted a service at a church in Minnesota. A source familiar with the matter said a grand jury was impaneled Thursday. Now, the FBI and Homeland Security Investigations, a law enforcement agency within the Department of Homeland Security, were all involved in the arrest, according to sources. Now, Abby Lowell, Lemon's attorney, confirmed that he was taken into custody by federal agents Thursday night in Los Angeles, where he was covering his weekend's Grammy Awards. Wow. Isn't that something? Hold on. Pop-ups. Okay, so they say Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionality protected work, or his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he's always done. This is what his attorney said in a statement. Now, the First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine a light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing this work. Now, Lowell said the Justice Department is focused on arresting Don Lemon instead of investigating the federal agents who killed Renee Good and Alex Peretti in Minnesota earlier this month, calling it the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. And so this unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement shared to social media that federal agents arrested Lemon and 3 others in connection with the coordinated attack on City's church in St. Paul, Minnesota. A source briefed on the investigation said Lemon faces charges of conspiracy to deprive others of their civil rights in violation of the FACE Act by allegedly interfering by force with the exercise of others' First Amendment rights. Now, last week, a federal appellate court declined to order a lower court judge to sign arrest warrants for 5 people, including Lemon, in connection with a January the 18th anti-ICE protest inside a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. However, one of the 3 appellate court judges said that he felt there was probable cause to justify the arrest, according to court filings and sources familiar with the matter. I told you all, Bondi said she was going to get Don Lemon arrested by hook or by crook. She said the one judge wouldn't, but she would find one that would, and here she has. Multiple people have been charged in connection with the protest when demonstrators entered St. Paul City's church after discovering that one of its pastors is an ICE official. Now, the Justice Department had asked the appellate court to compel the U.S. District Court in Minnesota to sign the arrest warrants over civil rights charges, alleging the defendants were unlawfully interfering with the churchgoers' constitutional protected freedom to practice religion. Lemon worked at CNN for more than 15 years, but was fired in 2023. He announced in early 2024 that he would be launching the Don Lemon Show on X, but the social media site owned by billionaire Elon Musk ended the partnership months later, shortly after Lemon interviewed Musk. Lemon now hosts a show on YouTube. Y'all remember that when he interviewed Musk and Musk didn't like how the interview went? Yikes. What do you all think about this? This is an attack on journalism, honey. This is an attack on freedom of speech. At the end of the day, they're trying to take away the whole First Amendment. I want you all to pay attention because this is absolutely nefarious, okay? It's absolutely nefarious. Let's go to the coverage from MS Now or CNN. I'm not CNN, CBS. Let's go to CBS.
Department is devoting its time, attention, and resources to this arrest, and that is the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. Again, I'm directly quoting from Don Lemon's attorney here. The statement ends by saying, "This unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. That's a statement from Don Lemon's attorney on his arrest last night. We're covering this here on CBS News as our reporters try to confirm information with their sources in LA, in Washington, and in other places. But it appears that this could be connected to Mr. Lemon's efforts as an independent journalist to cover anti-ICE demonstrations in Minnesota. We were just speaking with our Lilia Luciano, who has been reporting extensively from the ground there in Minnesota, who made the point that after this incident, which you're seeing on your screen, there was an effort to bring charges against not just Don Lemon, but other protesters there. But a federal appellate court declined to file charges, and they also declined to order a lower court judge to sign arrest warrants for 5 people. That includes Lemon. One of the 3 judges said he felt there was probable cause to justify the arrests, but multiple people were charged in connection with that demonstration, and it was also linked to an ICE official who appears to be one of the pastors at that church. And there had been apparently an effort by the Trump administration to make some kinds of charges stick. Lilia, if you can still hear me, can you help us understand that legal effort post-demonstration that ultimately failed to make charges stick to Lemon? Because something has happened between that, obviously, and now.
Yeah, we are continuing to report on exactly how things got to that point of him being arrested, involving the HSI and the FBI overnight in Los Angeles. But look, the officials that I have talked to here in Minnesota have been extremely, the state officials, extremely critical of the handling of not just the ICE operation, not just the killing of Alex, Freddie, and Renee Good, but the agents' participations or the agents' activities against people just trying to document what they're doing, and that includes journalists. We have seen agents who have, pushed journalists or forced them out of the scene, saying that they are impeding with law enforcement activity. There's a great deal of concern here in Minnesota, and of course across the country too, with those actions. So yesterday I sat with the prosecutor for the state of Minnesota, who is overseeing the investigation into Alex Preddy's killing and Renee Good's killing. And she was very strong with her words about how the federal government is acting. She says that her investigators, the state investigators, are being excluded from the evidence and the investigation, the federal investigation into those killings. She's very concerned, calls it all unprecedented, concerned with the way that that the government is kind of conflicting with the state. And this is all, I mean, right now, what we've been covering here, this is all happening as Tom Homan showed up yesterday in Minneapolis and basically changed the tone and said that there would be a scaling back of the amount of agents that are here on the ground if the state cooperates. When you see such a high-profile journalist as Don Lemon, somebody who is an anchor for years at CNN, somebody whose face and name everybody, I mean, many people recognize in this country, being arrested while he was at a church interviewing the pastor that was being, targeted by the protesters, or, who the protesters showed up to protest. I think you have such a big story, you have such a big concern, such a strong message about the First Amendment. That is what we're hearing from Don Lemon's attorney. We don't know what the charges are. We don't know exactly what Don Lemon's activities were inside that church. But in terms of messaging, yeah, go ahead.
Just want to interrupt you momentarily because our Nicole Skanger has just shared with us the specific charges that Mr. Lemon now faces. So we want to share with our viewers what that is. His charges include conspiracy against rights. You're seeing that on your screen, and for violating the FACE Act. Let me just explain what these charges include. On the conspiracy against rights, this statute protects against conspiracies to interfere with rights such as voting, housing, or bodily integrity. For the second charge he faces, this is the FACE Act. That's the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances. This is a charge which forbids using force, threats, or physical obstruction to stop individuals from accessing reproductive health clinics or places of worship. That sounds key. It also prohibits damaging or destroying property at these locations. So, Lilia, now that we know two of the charges that Don Lemon faces, it does appear to be connected to that demonstration in a church from about 6 days ago, which a magistrate judge refused to bring charges at that time. And we know the administration has been pushing since then to appeal and find a way to make something stick. I believe you covered this when it took place a week ago. Lilia, you've been covering so much, I'm not sure, but remind us why the FACE Act itself.
I wasn't here.
Okay, but remind us why the FACE Act would be key.
I wasn't here, but the source who gave me the tip this morning, how we learned for the first time that Don Lemon had been arrested, suggested, he didn't have the warrant, but suggested that it would be connected to the FACE Act, and this seems to be what the government was looking for. It's an interesting charge. Again, we need to, we don't have the evidence. We don't know exactly what happened, but Don Lemon and his attorney and his representatives have said he was there just interviewing the pastor, doing his job as a journalist. For all of us, it's very concerning to think about when we are there covering a protest, which we do constantly. We do all kinds of protests. The actions of the protesters and whatever charges are brought against the protesters, whether or not they are legal, justified, protected by the First Amendment, you don't have that expectation that you are going to be also arrested and charged for being there. We have been tackled, tear gassed in this country and other countries. But when it comes to pressing charges, this is a very serious thing that the government is saying to all of us covering protests, to all of us engaging in journalism and bringing the audience what is happening from the ground, especially when it comes to somebody who is, not as well, he is working as an independent journalist, but somebody who people know as a journalist, who has such a name and a face and is so widely recognized. You really have to consider what is the message that the government is sending, even after multiple courts had refused to file those charges. It's very important for us to understand, and this is something that we've seen the administration do when it comes to immigrants too, that when one state is not friendly to the intention of the government, then they move immigrants to another state. So I'm very curious to know, this grand jury was called yesterday, what kind of evidence they saw. Look, we don't have the evidence, we don't have the facts, we don't know exactly what happened, whether he was obstructing, what he was doing there. But I think the intention, or I think we have to pay very close attention to why this much insistence in bringing charges against Don Lemon, and what is the intention, or what is the message that is sending to all of us who do this for a living, and to the public at large.
And Lilia, I'll just share with you that the consequences of these two charges on the conspiracy against rights, you could have fines and or up to 10 years in prison. And the freedom of access to clinic entrances, or the FACE Act, a violation of that is a misdemeanor on your first offense with up to 6 months in prison for nonviolent obstruction. Subsequent offenses, though, can be categorized as a felony, with penalties increasing up to 18 months for nonviolent offenses, up to 3 years for violent offenses. So serious potential consequences for a former CNN news anchor and independent journalist who was, as you have been doing, covering the incredible events there from the past few weeks. We'll let you go for now, Lilia. We appreciate your report.
Okay, so what a whole load of BS. Can y'all believe it? Wow. Trump is the devil himself. Well, like I said, Pam Bondi said she was going to find a way to make sure Okay, that he got arrested. Now, are the charges going to stick is the question. Because here's the thing. You can indict a ham sandwich. I told you all that 1,000 times. That's a running joke amongst prosecutors. So you literally can get anyone indicted for any reason, whatever. Okay? It's just that easy to do. But are the charges going to stick? Because in fact, Don Lemon was in there interviewing the pastor. How is he in there rioting or protesting? How is he in there causing melee? Okay, he wasn't planted in there. Those people were. And then some of them came in after, I do believe. But nonetheless, he was talking to the pastor. If it was such a problem for him being there, why was the pastor standing there entertaining him and speaking to him, having a whole conversation? Okay, yes, definitely. Jerry says malicious prosecution. Absolutely. That's what it is. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's go to the other hypocrisy about Trump, because it has come to my attention, as I was saying previously before the Don Lemon news, that there are about 19 undocumented immigrants that claim to have worked for Trump, okay, for the Trump organization for years. Most of them worked at Mar-a-Lago, and they have a story to tell. And we're going to listen to some of that story right here, because they did an interview with CNN. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share.
They arrived in vans. They arrived in SUVs. Hi, guys. Most of them co-workers. Some of them friends. There were 19 of them, each with a story to tell. They all took the elevator to our studio. 3 elevators, in fact. What were all these people doing here? All of them wanted to talk about their years of working for Donald Trump's golf clubs. They also all have another thing in common.
Raise your hand. How many of you are undocumented workers? And how many of you worked for the Trump organization? Raise your hand. All of you.
All of them say they worked for Mr. Trump at his various golf courses in New York and New Jersey, some for more than a decade, despite being in the United States illegally, from countries including Mexico and Guatemala. They brought with them their work uniforms and stacks of pay stubs from their former employer. Jose Juarez worked as a waiter at Trump's Westchester Golf Club for 10 years and often served Donald Trump.
He used to come and we serve him a Diet Coke out of the glass bottle into a plastic cup with ice.
Do you think he knew where you were from?
Yes, he knew I was from Mexico.
You told him?
Yes.
Do you think the president knew that you were undocumented?
I think so. This was an open secret.
Lawyer Anibal Romero represents 38 undocumented workers, including this group, all of whom worked at Trump properties. He says 11 of them were quietly fired in January from Trump's Westchester club after the club did an audit in the midst of the government shutdown and the fight over the border wall. The rest of these workers quit given the toxic environment.
Some of these employees were the most trusted employees of the Trump family. They've been working there for 10, 15 years. Some of my clients had, the keys to, for example, Eric Trump's house in Westchester, New York.
Nearly all of these 19 undocumented workers told us they've met Donald Trump. Sandra Diaz is from Costa Rica and worked as a housekeeper for 4 years at Trump National Golf Club in New Jersey.
I work really close to him in his house. Always I with him, with Melania, with Ivanka. Always I stay inside the house with all the family. They know me. I have a keys. I have to go in. I have to take care all clothes, everything in this house. I have to care.
Sandra told us she believes Donald Trump knew she was here illegally because he has to sign off on everything at the club.
How do you feel when you hear the president say that people like yourselves shouldn't be in this country?
I feel really bad.
All of the workers paid taxes, but were not given benefits. Victorina Morales also worked at Trump's golf club in New Jersey as a housekeeper. For 5 years, she made Trump's bed and dusted off his golf trophies.
Did you ever tell the management at the golf course that you were undocumented or that you didn't have the right paperwork?
She told us yes. She told her supervisors. but was told legal papers didn't matter as long as she did the work.
What documents, ¿qué papeles did you show when you applied for the job?
Victorina says she didn't show any paperwork when she got the job, but in 2016, she was suddenly asked for legal documentation. She says when she told her manager she didn't have it, he got his cousin to take her to a house in New Jersey to get documents, and that her manager himself paid the $175 fee for her fake documents.
There was another client I have in Westchester who presented fake documents, and he was told that they didn't look good enough. So they had him return 3 times to get fake documents that looked better.
Did Donald Trump know where you were from, and do you think that he knew you were undocumented?
Victorina told me Trump once asked her where she was from, and she told him Guatemala. She says the majority of housekeepers were undocumented and that Trump must have known. Margarita Cruz worked as a housekeeper at Trump's golf club in Westchester, New York for 9 years.
What do you think when you hear Donald Trump talk about undocumented workers and how you shouldn't be allowed in this country, yet you worked at his golf club?
Margarita says Trump is a hypocrite, that he says they are bad people, rapists and traffickers, but they are honest, hard-working people who worked hard for him.
He's been benefiting from undocumented labor for many, many years. It's sad that he's been lying to the American people.
Randy joins us now. Has the Trump organization had any response to what those workers told you?
Anderson, we reached out to the Trump organization several times asking for a response to the fact that these allegations and also the fact that the Trump organization has been employing these undocumented workers for years. We didn't get a response, but the Trump organization has responded to the New York Times, which has also done some reporting on this issue, telling the Times they have strict hiring practices and that if an employee submits false documentation to circumvent the law, they will be fired immediately. Now, that's certainly not what these workers told us happened in their case. And that statement to the New York Times, Anderson, certainly doesn't answer our question, which is, did Donald Trump know that these undocumented workers were working for him as he was publicly railing against them? Right. Also, one other note, most of the workers in our story, they're all facing deportation because, as you know, there is no plan for those 11 million plus illegal immigrants in this country. Only one of them now has legal permanent status. That's Sandra Diaz, but she didn't get it until long after she left Trump's golf club in New Jersey, Anderson.
Okay, so that's a darn shame. That is a darn shame. Such hypocrisy. Okay, such hypocrisy. Trump is low down and nefarious. And I guarantee you that, of course, I believe he absolutely knew that those people were working for him, even as he's out here having them mass deported and talking crazy. So nefarious. Now, DJ Big Six said Don Lemon inserted himself in this mess so he gets what he gets. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. At the end of the day, we need journalists like Don Lemon out there, boots on the ground, telling us what the lamestream media is not going to tell us, beloved. Okay, shout out to Don Lemon. Sit down somewhere. If it weren't for Don Lemon, we would not have seen what was going on inside that church, and likely wouldn't even have known that the pastor, 2 of their pastors supposedly, work for ICE. Okay, I'm sorry, but I love finding out things that they don't want us to know. Don't you? Now, Wellington Cousin says the new video of the Minnesota nurse kicking out their taillight changes everything. What does it change? It doesn't change anything. All it shows is that 11 days before, he obviously was upset, kicked out the taillight, and spat at them. Now, when they're sitting there saying he spat in somebody's face, which Trump said that was a whole lie, he spat at the vehicle. They were not outside of the vehicle, they were inside. So that's a lie. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. Even if he kicked out the taillight, somebody's supposed to die for that? It amazes me how some people think. Like I was telling you all earlier, I used to think that when Black people would be unarmed and get taken out by the police, and you have these racist MAGA types, saying, oh, they should have done this, they should have done that, and then trying to justify it. Like with George Floyd, for example, they kept talking about he was a criminal, that he was on illegal substances. At the end of the day, he may have been a criminal, but he was not doing any crime that day. The $20 bill that they called the police for thinking it was fake turned out to be real. So even if he was a criminal, he wasn't committing a crime that day. So the police should never have been called. That's for number one. And if he was on illegal substances, what did that have to do with Derek Chauvin putting his knee in his neck almost 10 whole minutes? Besides nothing, but this is how fools think. They think it all adds up and makes sense. Okay, and the sad thing, the scary thing, is that some people who think like that are judges and prosecutors and police officers. That's the sad part. Some of them absolutely are in those type of positions when that should not be the case. At the end of the day, if he were to be arrested, Alex Preddy, if he had been arrested for spitting at the vehicle and kicking out the taillight, that would be like a misdemeanor, right? That would probably be a misdemeanor depending on how much it costs to get the taillight fixed or whatever. I'm pretty sure that would likely be a misdemeanor. But nonetheless, even if it was a felony, is it worthy of death? Is that what you're saying? Okay, is it worth his execution? People justify the most idiotic things, and it's all crazy. It makes no sense. Okay, does someone deserve to lose their life because they kicked out a tail light? No, they don't. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. Like I told you all earlier when I discussed it, to me, that can prove premeditated for the ICE agents. Because were they harboring some sort of vendetta because they already had a previous encounter with him? And oh, don't let it come to light that in fact it's true that they had his name on a list. See, let's see how that all pans out. But you know, at the end of the day, now as I think about it, nothing's going to come of it because the feds are investigating this, not the state. And we know how that goes. Okay, Trump's administration investigating themselves, please. Okay. Evelyn says spitting is assault. It's only an assault if you spit on a person. If you spit on a person, it's an assault, beloved. I showed the video, and if you didn't see it, rewind this one. He spat at the vehicle, the back of the vehicle as they were driving away. He didn't spit on any of them. Okay, so that was not an assault. All right. Now, with that all being said, let's talk a bit more about Trump and his just hate for Obama, how he's just so jealous. In the wake of the federal immigration agent shooting and killing of Alex Preddy, former American presidents who tend to say very little about current affairs decided they needed to speak up. So the day after the slaying, for example, Clinton issued a lengthy statement that, among other things, warned Americans over the course of a lifetime that we face only a few moments where the decisions we make and the actions we take will shape our history for years to come. This is one of them. If we give our freedoms away after 250 years, we might never get them back. Joe Biden soon followed with a similar statement that celebrated the Minnesotans who have protested the federal government's immigration crackdown, noting that they have reminded us what it is to be American, and they have suffered enough at the hands of this administration. Barack and Michelle Obama also issued a written statement in the wake of the deadly violence, saying it should also be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of party, that many of our core values as a nation are increasingly under assault. They went on to criticize the unprecedented tactics the Department of Homeland Security has employed, saying people across the country have been rightly outraged by the spectacle of the masked ICE recruits and other federal agents acting with impunity and engaging in tactics that seem designed to intimidate, harass, provoke, and endanger the residents of a major American city. The Obamas concluded saying that rather than trying to impose some semblance of discipline and accountability over the agents that they've deployed, the president and current administration officials seem eager to escalate the situation while offering public explanations for the shootings of Mr. Preddy and Renee Good. They aren't informed by any serious investigation, and that appears to be directly contradicted by video evidence. So Donald Trump didn't respond to the substance of any of the former Democratic presidents. But the Republican incumbent seizing on the FBI executing a search warrant in Fulton County, Georgia, did take the opportunity to launch a ridiculous offensive against one of his Democratic predecessors. He said, in one post on his Truth Social, he accused former President Barack Obama of treason. In addition, Trump shared a bizarre post claiming China, Iran, Italy, Merrill Lynch, the CIA, and the FBI, and others all worked with Obama to install Biden as a puppet. Y'all remember, I read you all that earlier. Okay, as part of that same overnight avalanche of weird and conspiratorial missives, the president also amplified one item written by someone else that insisted that Obama had falsified evidence, followed by a separate missive that concluded, "Arrest Obama now." Suffice to say, the claims that Trump seemed eager to push were all quite bonkers, though the Republicans' online tantrum did offer the public a timely opportunity to appreciate the difference between the incumbent president and his modern Democratic predecessors. While Clinton, Biden, and Obama urged Americans to protect our freedoms and liberties as they come under assault, Trump had nothing to offer but tiresome trash. Well, that's because he is trash. Sorry, it's true. Okay, that's what he is. So that all being said, I absolutely cannot with Trump. Now, he had undocumented immigrants working for him all this time. He's been talking trash. No surprise there, but hold on, because Georgia is very upset, about that whole thing where they had the FBI raid the election office in Fulton County. And let me tell you, they should be upset because we all know why Trump did it. First of all, political retribution, just like I told y'all yesterday, and try to find any evidence, about his allegations of the 2020 election fraud. Okay, he wants to still try to prove those nefarious claims that don't even exist, that have already been debunked. Okay, please pay attention. Get into it. Let's get into it because Fulton County is not backing down. Okay, Fulton County is not backing down, Trump. It's nefarious self. He needs to be held accountable and always talking about someone else being arrested. How in the world does he think Barack Obama should be arrested or that Biden or anyone else should be arrested? Bill Clinton, anyone. Okay, if he in fact hasn't been. He has to be crazy. He is such a narcissist.
Tonight, Fulton County says it is not backing down, a day after the FBI raided the county's elections hub. Election officials say 700 boxes of documents from the 2020 election were taken. County leaders say they don't know where this sensitive information is tonight. Atlanta News First senior reporter Patrick Quinn is live in downtown Atlanta tonight. Patrick, Fulton County leaders have some pretty strong words today against the Trump administration.
Right here in downtown Atlanta, Fulton leaders, they said that the raid yesterday by the FBI, that was an attempt by the Trump administration to intimidate and to distract. Fulton leaders said they're not going to have it, and they stand by the integrity of their election system, both in 2020 and now.
This is by no means over.
Fulton County leaders on the defense a day after the FBI, following a court order, seized 700 boxes of election records at the county election hub in Union City.
Once they left that facility last night in those FBI trucks, I don't know where they are now. I don't know who has them. I don't know what they're doing with them. Are they opening the boxes? Are they stuffing other ballots in there? I have no clue.
In the search warrant acquired by Atlanta News First, we get a better sense of what could have been taken. All physical ballots from the 2020 election, voting machine printouts, recounts, and voter rolls from the 2020 election. Here's Election Board Chair Sherry Allen.
I can't tell you exactly what was taken. We do know, like I said, we had the 700 boxes, but I do know other documents we're looking into too that we did not believe had anything to do with 2020.
Allen said attempts to make copies or have the FBI catalog what they were taking were unsuccessful. And now much of the search warrants remain sealed. So we do not know why the records were taken and who is being targeted in the seizure. Pitt said he believes the focus is not on 2020's election, but to cast doubt on the county's ability to run the 2026 and 2028 elections.
We will not give 1 inch to those who seek to take control of elections in Fulton County. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever.
Pitt said they're pursuing outside legal help to challenge the FBI raid, but stressed to Fulton County voters, your vote was secure in 2020. It will be secure in the midterms in 2026 and in the presidential race in 2028. Pitt said a message he sent to the Trump administration in 2020 still resonates.
Stay the hell out of Fulton County. I meant it then, and I mean it today.
And I did reach out to the FBI. They said they do not have any further comment after yesterday's raid. We also reached out to the governor's office and to the Secretary of State's office here in Georgia. Do they defend Fulton County after this raid? A spokesperson for the Secretary of State's office said they will weigh in when the feds weigh in. As of tonight, the feds have not. In downtown Atlanta, Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
Okay. So he is still at it. He is still at it, and no surprise there. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Are they going to doctor any of that evidence? Because I don't trust Trump. I don't trust any of his administration, and neither should any of us at the end of the day. Find it all so interesting. These people just need to give us our darn reparations. That's what they need to do. If they don't do anything else, they need to give us our darn reparations. Okay? Please. All right? Now, while Nicki Minaj is up there kissing Trump's butt, she should have been telling him to give black folks our reparations. Since you want to be down with MAGA. AJ said the Epstein files. Exactly. Anyway, we're almost done, beloveds, but hold on. Hold on. Speaking of reparations, I'm going to go to a video or two. Hold on. I'm going to go to a video or two that I found about people talking about our reparations. Okay. Now, with that all being said, before I do, let's talk about Trump, because remember, now some people are saying, oh, Trump wants to deport citizens and this and that. But remember, I told you all that months ago that he said that, and it was caught on a hot mic. I played you all the audio when he was talking to the El Salvadorian president. Okay, so now when you look it up, does Trump want to deport U.S. citizens? Well, based on reports from early 2025, Donald Trump has expressed a desire to deport U.S. citizens who are considered homegrown criminals, specifically targeting violent, egregious, or repeat offenders. He has explored the possibility of sending these individuals to foreign prisons, such as El Salvador, referring to them as homegrowns. Remember, I told y'all this already. Trump has suggested that citizens who commit violent acts, such as pushing people down into subways or attacking the elderly, should be included in deportation efforts, stating that, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Wonder why he didn't mention PDF files. Okay, now, legal experts say that deporting U.S. citizens is unconstitutional, while the administration has stated they're looking into whether such acts are legal. I want y'all to pay attention. They're looking into this. What the Trump administration has said. They've stated that they're looking in to see whether such actions are legal. Critics argue that this violates the U.S. Constitution and existing laws. Trump doesn't care about existing laws or U.S. Constitution. We know that. Now, Trump has discussed with El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, the possibility of holding U.S. citizens in Salvadorian prisons, a move that critics describe as unprecedented and dangerous. I told you all this months ago, too. Now, the Trump administration has also indicated it will pursue denaturalization, stripping citizenship from naturalized citizens who committed fraud during the process as a way to make them eligible for deportation. And in early 2025, reports emerged indicating that as part of the broader immigration crackdown, some U.S. citizens were wrongfully detained or deported, raising concerns about the potential for further violations of civil liberties. While the administration has framed this as a way to handle monsters in the country, it has faced widespread condemnation from legal scholars and civil rights advocates. Yeah, because it's all crazy. And like I said, we already know that they be trying to send the black prisoners. Okay. 9 times out of 10, this I am said, Wigs, pay attention, as the Queen warned about this last year, and here we are. Okay, thank you, This I am from the UK. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, let's continue. Okay, let's continue, because now I'm going to go to this video of this young man who was going in and giving a very thorough breakdown about how and why Black folk deserve reparations. And I, quite frankly, was impressed. Okay, I was impressed. And see, here's the thing. I've told you all before that there are some people on TikTok specifically who don't look like me, and they'll be on there trying to ride the wave of, acting like they're down for Black folk and all of that. But then you go back and look at previous videos they've done and see they're just all fake and fraud. Or later on down the line, they slip up and say something and then their cover's blown. But you can usually tell these people, okay, if you're really, really paying attention. But at the end of the day, because here's the thing, they'll be talking and saying all this stuff, but they have no passion. When people are serious about things and it's heartfelt, they always have an element of passion when they speak about it. And to Byron B, that is also, beloved, why some people talk with their hands. Okay? Because I know Byron B said he doesn't trust people who talk with their hands. I talk with my hands. But anywho, let's continue. Like some, everyone, please like and share. Here we go.
Let me ask a question that nobody in power wants to answer honestly. What does a government do when it causes harm, documents the harm, benefits from the harm, watches the harm compound for centuries, and then pretend time magically absolves responsibility? Because that is not a philosophical question. That is the United States of America. Reparations for Black Americans is not a radical idea. It is not unrealistic. It is not crazy. What's radical is pretending this country does not already keep detailed receipts of what it did. This government did not merely allow slavery. It legalized it, it taxed it, it insured it, it protected it with law, courts, and violence. And when slavery formally ended, the harm did not. The government did not pivot to repair. It pivoted to control. Jim Crow was not a cultural accident. It was law. Redlining was not prejudice. It was federal housing policy. The exclusion of Black Americans from the New Deal, Social Security, and the GI Bill was not coincidence. It was written into legislation and selectively enforced by the state. So let me be clear about what that means. For decades, the U.S. government subsidized white wealth while blocking Black wealth. At the exact moment when the American middle class was being created, home ownership is the single greatest source of generational wealth in this country. The federal government decided who got access to it and who did not. That decision did not disappear when the ink dried. It compounded, it multiplied, it echoed forward, which is why today the racial wealth gap exists not because of culture, not because of effort, not because of choices, but because the government engineered different starting lines, enforced them for generations, and then walked away pretending the race was fair. And here's the part that destroys every counter argument. The US government already knows this. That's why it has census data tracking racial wealth gaps. That's why it has redlining maps showing exactly where harm occurred. That's why it has records of discriminatory GI Bill implementation. That's why economists can trace modern inequality directly back to state action. This right here is documentation. This is not a conspiracy theory. And when people say, oh, but nobody alive today owns slaves, they are exposing either ignorance or dishonesty, because reparations has never required the original perpetrators to be alive. Germany paid Holocaust reparations. The US paid reparations to Japanese Americans it incarcerated. States have paid reparations to victims of race massacres. The precedent is established. So let's stop pretending the issue is if. The issue is who this country considers worthy of repair. Because when harm happens to others, America finds the money. America prints the money. When harm happens to Black Americans, suddenly responsibility becomes controversial. That right there is racial hierarchy preserved through policy. And let's be honest, man. Reparations, I've said this time and time again, reparations is not about guilt. It's about liability. All I'm saying, man, is if a government causes harm, benefits from it, and allows it to compound, it owes repair. It absolutely does. That is how law works. That is how economics work. That is how morality works. And the longer repair is delayed, the more expensive it becomes. Not just financially, but socially, politically, and spiritually. You cannot starve a community of wealth for generations and then punish it for the outcome.
All right. Well, that was very well said. And he told no lies. Okay. He told no lies. I wonder what ethnicity he is. He looks like he could be Italian or something. But anywho, with that being said, here we have Becky saying all the reasons why we don't deserve reparations. My question is, why do people like her even care? Well, because of hate and envy.
We pay reparations. What do you mean you want reparations? Our taxpayer dollars, which are mostly white people paying that, goes to, what is it? Affordable housing, government programs, EBT, scholarships, DEI, you guys getting jobs. Holy shit. Let's take all that, factor in the theft, factor in the crime, factor it in the murders, and then we'll talk about reparations on the show. How about that? You probably won't like that, will you? Because you're not going to like the numbers.
Lock in, fuck niggas. We about to fact check this shit. First, if you fuck with me, check out that podcast. Let's get it. What the hell are you talking about? I'm not even sure she knows the definition of reparations, because not only does black people pay taxes, but white people also benefit from these government resources. I mean, 83% of the people who pay $0 in federal tax are white. Nearly 50% of SNAP enrollees are white, and 40% of people on Medicaid are white. Even with housing subsidies, white people benefit more than black people. Research shows that these programs will offer white people cheaper and safer housing compared to black and Latinx people. And who's gonna tell her that white women actually benefit the most when it came to DEI programs? And I'm confused. Why are you attacking black people if Donald Trump is the one that's trying to get $230 million from the government?
You want to talk about reparations? We pay reparations. What do you mean you want reparations?
Just running her mouth. Okay, just straight running her mouth. Now, with that all being said, Dan just said that journalist Georgia Fort was also arrested. Okay, so now as I look into it, she supposedly live streamed herself being arrested. So let's go to the footage. All right, shout out to TC Dan. Thank you, beloved, for giving me that information. Okay, but yeah, we listen. What both of those men said about reparations is absolutely true. Okay, they owe us reparations, all right? And we darn sure deserve it. Everyone else who's had a wrong done to them in this country has been given reparations. Okay, and don't be surprised if years from now, decades from now, the immigrants who are being done dirty right now get reparations too. Okay, and we probably still won't have gotten them. Okay, please pay attention. Sad but true.
Guys, I wanted to alert the public that agents are at my door right now. They're saying that they were able to go before a grand jury sometime, I guess, in the last 24 hours, and that they have a warrant for my arrest. I've talked to my attorney, and I'm being advised to go with them, I guess, down to Whipple. And my children are here. They're impacted by this. This is all stemming from the fact that I filmed a protest as a member of the media. We are supposed to have our constitutional right of the freedom to film, to be a member of the press. I don't feel like I have my First Amendment right as a member of the press. Because now federal agents are at my door arresting me for filming the church protest a few weeks ago. Again, I don't have a long time here, you guys, but I wanted you to know, for me, agents are at my door right now. My attorney has spoken with them. I did send a relative outside to talk to them. They're showing some type of documentation, apparently, that they got an indictment from a grand jury. I knew that I was on a defendant's list. I did not publish it because it was under seal. And so we've done everything that we can to try and abide by, you know, the advice of our attorneys. But right now, you guys, I wanted you to know I'm going to have to hop off here and surrender to agents as a member of the press. I filmed the church protest a few weeks ago, and now I'm being arrested for that. It's hard to understand how we have a constitution, constitutional rights, when you can just be arrested for being a member of the press. We've seen all these violations. All right, you guys, I gotta go. They're knocking.
Yep, she's coming right now.
Give me 1 second. All right, guys.
You want to?
Wow. Isn't that something? This is all so crazy. Well, I guess we're no different than North Korea at this point. Trump's a whole dictator. Okay, and he's doing every single thing that he said he would. Okay, he's done everything that he said he would. Well, he didn't exactly say that he was going to use the FBI and government officials to get back at his political rivals, but we knew he was going to do that, and Kamala darn sure knew it. Okay, so please pay attention. Now we can see why Joe Biden pardoned certain people. Too bad he pardoned Fauci, though. Okay, that's just too bad. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I'm about to be up out of here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you all one more thing. The new Fed chair. Okay, so Trump names former Federal Reserve official Warsh as the next Fed chair to replace Powell. Okay, this man's name is Kevin Warsh. That's W-A-R-S-H, Warsh. Okay, so President Trump said Friday that he will nominate former Federal Reserve official Kevin Warsh to be the next Fed chair. Okay, a decision likely to result in sharp changes to the powerful agency that could bring it closer to the White House. Now, Warsh could replace current chair Jerome Powell when his term expires in May. Trump chose Powell to lead the Fed in 2017, but this year has relentlessly assailed him for not cutting interest rates quickly enough. I mean, this man just has so many demands of people. I have known Kevin for a long period of time and have no doubt that he will go down as one of the great Fed chairmen, maybe the best. That's what Trump said on social media. He says, on top of everything else, he is central casting, and he will never let you down. Now, the appointment, which requires Senate confirmation, amounts to a return trip for Warsh, who's 55 years old, by the way, who was a member of the Fed's board from 2006 to 2011. He was the youngest governor in history when he was appointed at age 35. He is currently a fellow at the right-leaning Hoover Institution and a lecturer at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Okay, they say in some ways Warsh is an unlikely choice for the Republican president because he has long been a hawk in Fed parlance, or someone who typically supports higher interest rates to control inflation. Trump, by contrast, has said the Fed's key rate should be as low as 1%, a level few economists endorse and far below its current level of about 3.6%. All right, so there y'all have it. This is him on the thumbnail here. Okay, that's him on the thumbnail, and I find it all so interesting. Beloveds. End of the day. So that all being said, I forgot to change my thumbnail. Don Lemon. They got you, Don Lemonade. Look at Don. Don was looking nice in his tux. Don said they got him. I'm sure he's all bailed out by now. He'll be talking about it later at some point. Okay, so Nene says now Trump will control the Federal Reserve. Oh, he definitely wants to. He, in fact, had talked about a few years ago getting rid of them. Honey, who knows what nefarious plots and schemes that Trump will come up with next. But one thing's for sure and two things for certain. Whatever it is, it'll involve money being put into his bank account. Okay, please pay attention. All right. Suing the IRS for $10 billion. Trump is nefarious. With that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this day. I may come back later tonight. I'm not sure, but keep your notifications on. Also, listen, they just unsubscribed a few people. I literally saw YouTube doing it while I was looking in the analytics or whatever. You can see it in real time. So anyway, you all please double check and make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, and especially if you have not been receiving notifications. Honey, they have the poor little old Queen Shadow Band so low down and dirty. Okay, but anyway, I love you all to life. Enjoy your strong end, not the weekend, keeping you in a weakened state of mind. All right. And each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got